let's talk about shopping, return policies, the economy, and business in general. So I just finished watching this news segment that was talking about how people who shop at Saks Fifth Avenue have been having trouble with making returns and getting their refunds. Now, before I moved into accounting and finance, I worked in luxury retail. I worked at a department store. I never worked at Saks, but I did work at some of its competitors. And those of you who've also worked at Nordstrom or Neiman's or even Macy's, whatever, you know, or Saks, you know how customers are when it comes to returning. We get a lot of returns. People usually are just renting the items. They will buy it on a Friday, return it on Monday, may or may not have the receipt, or they'll have it for months and months and months, and all of a sudden I got to make a return. People really don't shop at these stores. They shop there for an event, for an occasion, and then they bring the item back, usually because they really can't afford it in the first place, or they have a shopping addiction. They might be not all the way there mentally, and so they just do this thing where they just buy and return because they have nothing else to do. I was saying when I worked in luxury retail that returns are not sustainable. And like the businesses will always be like, oh, well, there are customers, like we have to treat them a certain way. Those are not your customers. If people are constantly buying and returning, that's not a customer. That person is sabotaging your store. Because if they were your customer, they would buy their item, they would keep it. And I always wondered why stores didn't hold their customers more accountable. Stop allowing people to abuse you under the guise of they're a loyal customer. Loyalty doesn't do that to you. Loyalty doesn't perpetuate abuse nor endure abuse. If somebody is really your customer, really your friend, really your, ally, they're not going to constantly do things that sabotage your business or that sabotage you. But businesses continue to allow this, and I was always like, okay, there's got to be something more going on here. First of all, if you really want to keep your business, you need to set a strict return policy. Whereas, again, if you buy it, you keep it. It's like, make people accountable for what they do. Don't allow people to just come up in here, shop, and bring it back when you know that they don't really have a valid reason to be bringing it back. You know that they have a history of returning shit. Like, no, make people live with the consequences of their decisions. Stop buying shit you can't afford. Stop coming in here on payday and losing your mind, and then when your rent is due, now you're bringing everything back. You know that it's not sustainable neither, because that's why stores like that make the salesperson endure the return, because they work off of commission. So when people return shit, that comes out of your check, because the store would rather you incur the debt than, or the consequence, than them take it on. Because like, they're still going to take some of it on, but they share the responsibility when you have to take the return out of your commission. But also, I've always been thinking, okay, maybe this is like one big grand scheme, because we know that sometimes CEOs will purposely tank the stock of their companies, called shorting, because they already have like a plan for their exit. They already have like a parachute set up. So they'll do things on purpose to drive business down so that they can file bankruptcy. There's money in bankruptcy, and then they already have like their next CEO job like lined up, planned out. So that's just some of my ideas about that. But with all that being said, I think that this is exactly why stores do need to close. Because if you're not that busy and you really can't take returns like that, then you just need to close. Like, no wonder why Saks is broke. Y'all just bought Neiman Marcus. They were already struggling for years. Neiman's has markups and they still can't make money. So why did you just buy a failing department store? Neiman's didn't even want to be bought. Let them fail. So now you can't give people refunds because you just bought another failing department store, when weak bitches link up. And now all this is going on. No, stores need to be online. Like, that way, if you need to make a return, mail that shit in. If we don't want to take it, mail it back, make them keep it, and let them have a spasm in their home rather than kirk out in front of a bunch of people at the store. Like, a lot of these department stores are going to close because they need to close. Department stores been dead. People don't want the merchandise, and the service isn't there, the pricing isn't there, people can't afford the shit no way. Like, no. Department stores, I've been saying this for years, they're dying because they refuse to change their business model. They refuse to change their store layout. They refuse to change what they buy. They refuse to change. And so now they're all falling apart. Let's talk in the comments.